Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source. Continuing on NFL Week 5. Texans at Falcons. Interesting matchup here. Atlanta's laying 1.5 points at home. Totals at 41.5. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Source. Hey, get the Source.
So this line's been all over the place. It was up at 2, then it was back down to 1, then it was at 2 again. Now it's at 1.5. I think it's settled in at Atlanta minus 1.5. Public's all over Houston. Texans are an extremely public dog in this one. So these two teams could not be in more opposite situations right now. Falcons are 0-2 in their last 2 games, scoring just 6 and 7 points. Their young quarterback looks terrible in Desmond Ridder. Texans, on the other hand, have rattled off 2 straight wins where they've scored 67 points combined, and their young quarterback looks excellent in CJ Stroud. Everyone has already cemented CJ Stroud in as the Texans franchise quarterback, and they're all rushing to bet Texans money line, so will we be joining them? Well, taking a look at the Falcons offense, you can see their point. Desmond Ridder is just going through it right now. I mentioned just 13 points combined in their last 2 games, but if you focus on Desmond Ridder's numbers specifically, it somehow gets even uglier. Desmond Ridder is 25th or worse in the following categories: yards per pass attempt, big time throw percentage, turnover worthy throw percentage, adjusting completion percentage, and passer rating, leading the Falcons to a 31st ranked passing attack according to DVOA through 4 games. And the biggest issue with Desmond Ridder has been the slow starts. Look at his quarterback efficiency rating by quarter: 57.2 in the first, 76.5 in the second, 69.4 in the third, 97.1 in the fourth. Falcons offense is 29th in the NFL in points per game and yards per play in the first half of games. And the reason the slow starting is such a huge issue, it directly negates what the Falcons are trying to do here. Atlanta wants to run the ball. This is not a team built to play from behind. They can't function with a quarterback who's going to be absolutely terrible for the first 5 or 6 possessions. They need to get the ball in the hands of Bijan Robinson, and check this out. Bijan Robinson's accounted for 36% of Atlanta's scrimmage yards, second in the NFL behind only Devontae Adams. Not only is he their leading rusher, but he also leads the team in receptions. Drake London and Kyle Pitts combined for 22 touches this season. Bijan Robinson has 72. So the important question here is, can the Houston Texans defense stop Bijan Robinson? And the answer is most likely no. The Lions were the only team this year that were able to slow Bijan Robinson down, and the Lions have an excellent run defense, and that game was in Detroit. In the other 3 Falcons games against lesser run defenses, Bijan Robinson is averaging 6.6 yards per carry. He is gashing teams. And Houston's defense just hasn't looked equipped to stop this guy. Texans' run defense on the season is 28th in DVOA, 20th in yards per carry allowed, and 21st in adjusted line yards. Want to know the backs they've seen that have been ripping them up? Zach Moss, Travis Etienne, and Najee Harris. All 3 of those guys had their most efficient rushing game of the season on this Texans defense. So more good news for the Falcons. Desmond Ridder's finally back at home, where he's been much better dating back to his years in Cincinnati. Ridder's been absolutely terrible in his 4 career road starts. 5.5 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 70 passer rating. At home, those numbers jump to a 7 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 96.6 passer rating. I'm not saying Desmond Ridder's going to rip it up through the air, especially since Houston's pass defense is actually pretty good. They're 7th in the NFL in pass defense DVOA. They also run a lot of zone coverage, and Desmond Ridder's been pretty awful trying to throw the ball against zone. I'm just saying I like the spot for Desmond Ridder a lot better than I liked the spot for him in the last 2 games. Regardless, I like the Falcons offense in this matchup. I think they run the ball all over Houston and score points. On the other side of the ball, we basically have the guy Bijan Robinson's battling with for the offensive rookie of the year. CJ Stroud looks great, I'm sure you've heard. In his last 3 games, he's averaging 323 pass yards per game, 9.1 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, no picks. CJ Stroud leads the NFL in passing yards per game over the last 3. And despite the Houston Texans offensive line being crushed with injuries, Stroud has been sacked 0 times in his last 2 games. So how can the Atlanta defense stop this guy? Well, it's going to be hard considering they don't have a pass rush at all. Falcons are just 30th in adjusted sack rate, 19th in pressure rate, 26th in QB hurry rate. But the Texans offensive line really isn't good. I know Stroud hasn't been sacked in a couple weeks, but let's not let that trick us into thinking the Houston Texans have a good offensive line. They don't. It's severely injured, and it's going to get lit up eventually. It's only a matter of time. Here's a huge angle I like for the Falcons defense. So Atlanta has run run man coverage on 67.8% of their defensive snaps this year. That's first in the NFL. Falcons live in man. Nobody's run more man coverage than the Atlanta Falcons this season. CJ Stroud has been much better throwing the ball against the zone. He's 4th and 6th in passer rating and yards per attempt against the zone. Those numbers dropped to 14th and 15th against man coverage. So the Falcons secondary might be equipped to give CJ Stroud problems here. Some more good news for the Falcons defense. Houston's run game has been basically non-existent. In the last 3 games, they've averaged 3.65 yards per carry, 3.3 yards per carry, and 2.0 yards per carry. Now, it hasn't slowed the offense down. The Texans still average 29 points per game in those 3, but stopping the run is the strength of the Falcons defense. So the run game shouldn't be there for Houston. And let's just take a step back and be real here. I know CJ Stroud's the man. I grew up an Ohio State fan. I'm rooting for the kid. But a rookie quarterback with a bad injured offensive line with no run game against man coverage, which he struggles a bit against, I just don't like this matchup for him, which is why I'm fading everybody and taking the Birds in this one. Give me Atlanta -1.5, Bird gang up. If you want my top bets, parlays of the day, if you want to join our Discord, or if you want to get in on the NFL Against the Spread giveaway contest, head over to KyleKirms.com. NFL Week 5 football Sunday. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you on Discord.